Chapter 1, The Last Transmission, POV, Captain Rallic Thren, Kavrik Federation. The first of the enemy ships died screaming. Not with a sound, the vacuum of space was mercilessly silent, but with a terrible, shuddering bass vibration rippling through the Zephyr's Fang's hull. A reactor collapse. A violent end heralded by the convulsions of twisted metal and flaring fires in the compartments beyond the bridge. Captain Rallic Thren remained rigid, his thick fur bristling under the harsh crimson glow of emergency readouts. The stale scent of scorched polymers, burnt fur, and hot coolant filled the command chamber, thick and choking. Enemy vessel 1 destroyed, reported Saviath, the Akrith tactical officer. His reptilian frame was tense, tail flat against the deck, a sign the warrior was barely holding his nerves. 2 remain. They circle us like predators. Rallic's 5-foot frame braced against the listing deck plate, his large mobile ears twitching at every metallic groan. His pale gray fur was dusted with battle grime, his muzzle grim eyes sharp as a desert hawk's. The Zephyr's Fang was no sleek hunter. She was a heavy battleship, Bray, built for endurance rather than speed. Her armored hull plated thick with layered ceramite, her spinal rail cannons able to anchor a squadron in battle. But today she was alone, outnumbered, deep in uncharted space. 2 Karnathi Diminion ships, sleek and fast, darted between the asteroids like lethal stingers. They struck repeatedly, using the debris belt as cover, testing the Federation's defenses. Damage control teams scrambled below decks, paws and claws working furiously to patch breaches, reroute power, and keep the hull from breaching entirely. Every system was bleeding red, every console flashing critical. The Diminion. The name tasted bitter on Rallic's tongue. It was a shadow across the galaxy, an empire of genetic slavery. They never just conquered, they transformed. Every species they absorbed was remade, twisted into warriors or beasts, enslaved through altered genes and brutal conditioning. The towering Grask, bred for sheer muscle and stubborn obedience, were the most infamous. 8 feet tall, thick-boned, near unstoppable, but slow and dim. Others were crafted for speed, for heightened senses, for unending labor. But all were slaves, driven by the Dominion's will. The Dominion never fought alone. Status report, Rallic growled, tail flicking with impatience. The main reactor is stable for now, said Drelai Engineer Thalessa, her small, mole-like hands trembling over the console. Hull breaches on decks 6 through 11. Shields are down. We're running on emergency power only. Weapons. Saviath's golden eyes narrowed. Main batteries are offline after overheating. We managed to destroy both Dominion ships. Rallic's ears flattened in frustration. This system was unremarkable, a cold red dwarf star with little of interest. No strategic value, no known Federation colonies. Why would the Dominion be here? He stared out into the void. Can we send a distress signal? Thalessa hesitated, claws tapping the console. The comm gimbal is frozen. We can broadcast an omnidirectional distress beacon, but it will alert anyone within range, friend or foe. Rallic's tail flicked once in silent agreement. Do it. Systems across the ship powered down, life support dimmed, auxiliary lighting vanished, leaving only the emergency blue strips. The beacon hummed, a lonely pulse in the void, repeating every 12 seconds. Distress signal. Federation battleship Zephyr's Fang, heavily damaged, coordinates attached, requesting immediate assistance. The crew settled into grim vigilance. Hours crawled by. Then sensors blipped. Captain, multiple contacts entering sensor range, Saviath reported, tail twitching with cautious hope. They are massive. One is nearly 5 times our size, 2 others slightly smaller but still larger than any Karnathi vessel. Rallic's fur rippled with a strange mix of awe and dread. The ship's signatures didn't match any Dominion profile. What are they? Saviath shook his head. Unknown, not Federation, not Dominion, something else. Rallic's eyes locked on the incoming vessels, colossal silhouettes growing sharper on the sensor screen. Keep the beacon running. Whatever they are, they found us first. Chapter 2. The Goliath Arrives. POV, Captain Elisa Vance, United Earth Alliance, Human Armada. The blackness stretched endlessly before Captain Elisa Vance, pierced only by distant stars and the glowing nav points of her fleet. The Goliath loomed, a 5-kilometer leviathan of layered titanium and ceramite armor, bulk enough to blot out star systems. A warship forged in humanity's harsh lessons and bloodied history. The bridge hummed with taut focus, a silence heavy with expectation. Commander Yim, status on the distress beacon, Vance ordered, eyes fixed on the flickering signals. Kara Yim's fingers danced over the console. Signal is faint, ma'am, distorted and fading. Encoding is alien, not ours, not any pirate pattern. Syntax and cadence consistent with sentience. Power source failing. Vance's pulse quickened. 30 years in space, decades facing the bugs, and yet this was something different. First contact. Real contact. Patch me through to high command, she said, voice low. The holographic Admiralty Council shimmered into view. Silver-haired Admiral Harlan's gaze was sharp beneath furrowed brows. Captain Vance, he said, grave. You understand the stakes? Humanity's first confirmed contact with another sentient species. Proceed with utmost caution. Yes, Admiral. We are authorized to respond. I will dispatch the Resolute and Ironheart to assist. Good, but remember your history with the bugs. Be wary. The bridge shifted to controlled urgency. Weapons calibrated, boarding protocols reviewed, suits sealed tight with ceramite plating and nanofiber reinforcement. Each human a walking fortress. When the Goliath and escorts dropped from warp near the signal, the alien ship floated dead in space, 600 meters of jagged plates scarred by fire and battle. No engines, no symmetry, only twisted edges and faint ghost lights flickering behind cracked hull panels. Life support barely holding, Kara said. No propulsion, no response to hails. Prepare boarding party, Vance commanded. Spearhead will dock. Secure the ship. The boarding crew assembled, a dozen warriors clad in black armor, bulked by strength-augmenting exoskeletons. Lieutenant Commander Hayes, a veteran hardened by decades against the bugs, led them, weapon ready but eyes sharp for danger. The spearhead latched with a hiss. Magnetic clamps bit into the alien hull, locking them in place. The ramp dropped into darkness. Inside, corridors twisted like the ribs of some alien beast. Faint glyphs flickered along the walls, shadows pooled in every corner. Then, movement. Rodent-like beings with whiskered snouts, dark eyes wide with terror, lizards slinking behind consoles, amphibians pressed low, tails flattened. Hayes lowered his weapon slowly. Easy. We're here to help. Silence stretched, heavy and expectant, broken only by the hiss of failing life support. Humanity faced another sentient species for the first time. Chapter 3. Federation meets Humanity. POV, Captain Rallic Thren, Kavrik Federation. The battered Zephyr's fang drifted like a wounded beast, systems failing, power nearly spent. Then through static, a faint pulse, an answer to our distress call. Attempt response, Rallic ordered, voice steady but tense. Static hissed back. Sensors flickered as an armored frigate approached, a vessel of unfamiliar design. Thick plates of steel and ceramite, angular and massive. Not Federation, not Dominion. Prepare for docking. Rallic commanded, security detail ready. When the blast doors slid open, 3 towering figures stepped through, larger than any Federation species, clad in battle armor layered like walking fortresses. They ducked under the low ceilings. The crew instinctively stepped back, eyes wide in awe and fear. Rallic approached cautiously. I am Captain Rallic Thren of the Federation Zephyr's Fang. The armored leader barked a sharp command. The others relaxed, scanning the chamber. Then the helmet came off. Beneath it was a human face, tall, muscular, weathered, confident. A grin exposed teeth unfamiliar to Federation eyes. Howdy, said the human. Lieutenant Commander Hayes, we picked up your call. Shock rippled through the crew. Rallic nodded, hiding his surprise. Welcome aboard, Lieutenant Commander Hayes. We are honored to accept your assistance. Hayes's grin didn't waver. Looks like you could use the help. Chapter 4. Rallic's POV. The human captain, Lieutenant Commander Hayes, as he had introduced himself, offered assistance without hesitation. His voice carried unshakable certainty, the kind that made you believe the offer wasn't just genuine, but inevitable. I had expected posturing, or at the very least some formal negotiation before they boarded my ship. Instead, their engineers moved through the corridors with my crew, guided to critical systems, tools slung over armored shoulders. They carried themselves like soldiers who also knew engines, an unusual combination in the Federation. Even with my ship limping, my power grid shattered, my crew exhausted, my gaze was drawn to their armor. It wasn't beautiful. No one would ever call it that. Functional, every plate molded to deflect, every joint braced to bear force, every seam sealed against vacuum and flame. Heavy servos coiled in knees and shoulders, not for comfort, but to make already large beings impossibly stronger. It was designed to intimidate, and it worked. I waited until the engineers had crawled into a junction port before asking the question that had been clawing at my thoughts. "I've never seen design like that," I said, nodding toward Hayes's suit. "What is its purpose? Your enemies, they must be fearsome." Hayes's gaze lingered on me, unreadable behind the faint glow of his helmet's visor. Then he said a single word, quiet but heavy: "They were." The choice of tense made my ears twitch. Past tense. "Bugs," he added. I froze. The word alone was enough. In the Federation, they had no name, only a designation: Sector 4828, the Red Zone. The place we were warned about from the moment we took command. The orders were always clear: do not approach, do not investigate, do not engage. "You fought them?" I asked slowly, the weight pressing down like artificial gravity. Hayes's voice remained calm. "We had to. They didn't leave room for anything else." He shifted slightly, servos humming quietly. "But to be honest," he shrugged faintly, "we've always kind of done this. Big threats show up, we deal with them." There was no arrogance, no boasting, only fact. Then he told me about the war. His words painted images I did not want in my mind. Skies blackened by wings, ground moving like a living tide of chitin and claw, cities swallowed in hours. "You don't fight the bugs with quick strikes," he said. "You fight them until there's nothing left to crawl back." "How long?" I found myself asking. 130 years, he replied evenly, "and we made sure they wouldn't be a problem for anyone else." I didn't know if I should feel horrified or relieved. My thoughts whispered, that doesn't seem very long. The Federation had always feared what might happen if the bugs ever poured out of Sector 4828. Now I was speaking to the people who had walked straight into that storm and come out the other side. A sudden flicker ran through the corridor lights, drawing my gaze upward. A hum followed, deep, steady, familiar. "Power." One of my bridge officers' voices came over the comms. "Captain, main power is coming back online. Life support at full capacity. Engines, not yet, but stabilizing." I turned back to Hayes. His engineers were already pulling tools from their belts, tightening panels, speaking in clipped professional tones. They had done in hours what my crew could not have done in days, and I had the distinct feeling this was only the beginning. Chapter 5. Ralik's POV. The deck beneath my boots hummed with a new life, the sound of a living ship, not yet the full, confident thrum of a battleship peak readiness, but no longer the faint, sickly pulse of a vessel barely clinging to life. My crew moved with renewed energy, their postures no longer bent under the weight of defeat. The humans' arrival had shifted something intangible: morale. Even the ever-cautious Dravik, my chief engineer, seemed taller as he guided two human techs through the engine control pit. Their engineers worked differently. They didn't just replace broken parts, they reinforced everything, layering redundancies, overbuilding, adding weight where the Federation would shave mass for efficiency. Their tools were modular, designs adaptable. It was the work of people accustomed to ships taking punishment and still pressing on. I walked alongside Hayes toward the bridge. My initial intimidation had faded, not because the humans were less imposing, but because I had begun to understand them. Deliberate, purposeful, and still dangerous. I glanced at the massive form of his armor again. "Your people built that for the bugs." His visor turned slightly toward me. "We built it for everything." That answer settled uncomfortably in my mind. I thought about our war doctrine: precision strikes, minimal losses, retreat when necessary. The Federation never fought a foe that could not be negotiated with. We built fleets for deterrence, not annihilation. These humans had done the opposite. "I suppose," I said carefully, "that explains the size of your ships as well." Hayes gave a small, almost amused exhale. "Size helps, but in our experience, so does being ready to finish what you start." There it was again, truth, not arrogance, not threat. On the bridge, status displays slowly filled with green. My crew tracked the humans' movements without realizing it. Even unarmed, they carried the weight of soldiers who were never truly unarmed. The comm crackled. "Main drives coming online in 30 minutes. Shields at 40% and climbing." My second officer leaned in. Captain, if I may, these humans, they are truly saying the bugs are gone? Red Zone 4828 is clear? I nodded slightly. That is what they claim. Her pupils tightened. Then, they saved us, all of us, even if it would have been thousands of years from now. Perhaps they had, or perhaps they had only removed one kind of predator from the stars. Either way, the Federation High Council would need to hear, and when they did, everything would change. I turned to Hayes. When my ship is stable, I will have to report this encounter to my superiors. He didn't seem surprised. Figured as much. We'll send a formal statement along with your comms relay, and if your people want to talk, we'll be there. The matter-of-fact tone chilled me more than any display of power could. I believed him. If the humans said they'd be there, they would come. And judging from what I'd already seen, the galaxy might never be the same again. Chapter 6. Report to the High Council. The holographic feed shimmered into existence before me, wide enough to give the illusion I was standing in the very heart of the High Council's amphitheater. Circular tiers rose above me in a gradient of species, all seated at stations, expressions caught somewhere between suspicion and calculation. My boots rested on the disk of polished black glass at the chamber's center, but in reality, I was aboard the Zephyr's Fang, still running partial repairs under human escort. The council moderator's voice carried through my comms in a dozen languages. Captain Rallick Thren, report your findings. I inclined my head. Honored counselors, this is the account of the Zephyr's Fang's engagement and rescue. I kept my tone steady. Battle reports are not stories. They are anchors in a sea of politics. We were completing a survey run 23 planetary units from the Araval Drift when 3 Dominion capital raiders intercepted our course. Their intent was clear: boarding and capture. The engagement was close and violent. We destroyed both enemy vessels. I let that hang. Destroying 2 Dominion ships was rare enough. Surviving 3 afterward was rarer still. But the fight cost us. Primary drives shredded, weapons arrays down to 20%, decks 6 through 11 sustaining major hull breaches. We were dead in space, minimal maneuver, life support critical, when 3 large unidentified vessels entered sensor range. The counselors leaned forward. Curiosity tightened. They were unlike anything in our database. Broad-beamed hulls, layered armor, drives producing mass signatures beyond comparable Federation warships. From the largest, the vessel identified as Goliath, a smaller frigate undocked and approached directly. Its escort held formation with the other 2 capital-class vessels. I continued without embellishment. The frigate docked port side. A boarding team entered, armed and armored. They did not demand surrender. They moved through our damaged conduits, patched primary power feeds, stabilized life support, restored operational control. Within hours, we were no longer adrift. They then withdrew to their own vessel. A low murmur rippled through the chamber. I gave the name. They call themselves humans. Commanding Officer, Lieutenant Commander Hayes, aboard the Goliath. Their engineering is redundant to the point of excess. Triple backups, armored systems, even in non-combat zones. Their personnel are physically larger than most Federation species and trained for sustained, high-intensity operations. Then came the line that froze me. During repairs, Hayes referenced an enemy they call the Bugs. Our translation feeds rendered it instantly as Sector 4828, the Red Zone. The chamber went still. Red Zone 4828, a quarantine boundary older than most members present, a place you did not speak of casually. Hayes said the Bugs were an existential threat to his people, I emphasized. Past tense. They were. When I asked, he replied, "We had to, and we did." He added, "We've always kind of done this." Murmurs rose sharply, half opportunity, half alarm. One council member shouted, "That's impossible! Red Zone 4828 exists for a reason." Pompous tone echoing. I closed with my recommendation. We open controlled contact channels, verify their claims, assess tactical doctrine and cultural approach before considering military cooperation. They saved my ship without provocation, but they are a force of considerable weight, and history suggests they will act decisively when threatened. The moderator replied, "Your report will be logged. The council will consider a supervised exchange. Forward full technical records of the humans' intervention." The hologram cut. I was back on the bridge, the quiet hum of patch systems filling the air. I allowed myself a breath. The decision now rested with politicians, and the humans had left more questions than answers.